Okay, so what do we do first, Louis?
You switch your x and y values.
So this becomes x equals y minus 4 squared. What is the next thing I'm supposed to do? Square root. So many of you on the test, you added 4 first. You cannot add 4 because they're in prison. So you need to release it by taking the square root of it. So this becomes x equals y minus 4. Sorry, the square root of x equals y minus 4. And then what do? Add 4. So y equaled the square root of x plus 4. This here gave you 5 points. If you were able to sketch the one they gave you and then sketch this one, that gave you another 5 points. By you doing domain, range, domain, range, domain, range, that was a total of 8 points. So that's where your 18 points came from. Some of you missed that. Alrighty. Are we okay? Yes? So once again, once I'm done, once you get started with your assignment, I'm going to call you one by one so we could see what you did right or wrong on your test. So today's notes are going to start with quadratic functions. Now, can you think of anywhere in the world where you use quadratic functions?
And on my test.
Sorry, you can sit right there.
I was helping her this do.
Okay. How does this work? Quadratic Kahoot.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's basically he or one of my team. It's basically just you get like 30, like a good 30 seconds to solve a quadratic function.
Well, have y'all ever played Angry Birds?
Yeah. Look at that parabola.
Look at that parabola.
That parabola.
If you don't aim correctly, if you don't do quadratic, then you're not going to get through it all. What are these pigs? Yeah. So, besides being an expert at Angry Bird, but back in the old days, remember they used to shoot cannons? Cannons?
Yes.
Is it canyons or cannons?
Cannon. Look at that parabola.
I'm thinking of it in Spanish, cañón, canyon. Okay, so the cannons, they used to shoot them. They had to put the little thing at the right angle and then shoot to make the parabola to go and hit the castle or the wall, whatever they were trying to destroy. Now this is in Spanish, but you see, boom, imagine the person not knowing what they're doing, they end up shooting themselves. So it's very important.
Or shoot backwards.
Or yeah, that would even be worse, right?
Ooh, Super Mario Brothers.
Anyways, so let's get back to the lesson.
How much of the lesson did you start this?
You guys
How
are
much of the lesson?
later.
We just did a warm-up.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so quadratic functions. When we talk about quadratics, we've done parts of it, but not everything. So this is what we're gonna have. Let's just make a little sketch. Let's put a point at -1, 0. Let's put one at 5, 0. Let's put one at 2, -3. And we're going to say this is the beautiful graph. Amazing, right? Now, today, your assignment has to do with finding the characteristics of a quadratic. That means finding the vertex, axis of symmetry, x-intercepts, y-intercepts. Is it a max or a min? What's the domain? What's the range? And all of it just from an equation. So we really only have 2 examples, but each example has A through G. Because axis of symmetry, does it open up or down? Is it a max and min? What is the vertex? What is the x-intercept? What is the y-intercept? There's a lot of parts to it. Now, I'm doing 2 and you're doing 2 on your own to see if you kind of get it or not. Your assignment is just a mixture. Some questions are going to ask just for the vertex. You're going to have a question that's going to ask for the x-intercepts, but you need to remember how to do each of those. So when I look at this, what do you call this on your graph? But
Is it the man?
the min or max, okay. So it could be your min or max, but it has another word for it.
Minimum and max.
Meniscus.
Like we just said
Oh, what?
the vertex.
It is called the vertex.
Yay.
So the vertex is the min and max. Okay? What is this point here going to be called?
Y
Your y what?
intercept.
Your y-intercept. Very good. And what is this guy and this guy called?
X-intercepts are zeros.
Very good. These are your x-intercepts. We could call them zeros, or sometimes they even call them roots or solutions. So there's different names for those 2 points. So we're starting a new chapter, all dealing with quadratics. There's one more thing. There is a line that goes through here.
Axis of symmetry.
Axis of symmetry is correct. Axis of symmetry. I don't know if I spelled that symmetry. Did I spell that right?
Yes.
Okay, sure. We'll just go with yes, right? So the axis of symmetry, what is the purpose of it? It cuts what?
The thing
Cut
in
in
half.
half.
The thing in half. So basically, if they only give you 1 point, but you know there's the axis of symmetry, 1, 2, 3, then you should have a point 1, 2, 3. If you have a point that's 5 this way, then you should have a point that's 5 the other way. It's the middle of the parabola, okay? Now, there's 2 types of functions that you get. One of them looks like this. This is an A. This is called vertex form, and that's the first one we're going to deal with. Plus K,
What's
yes.
H and K?
What is H and K? We're going to figure that out. I like vertex form because to me that's easier. Some parts of it is easier in vertex, some parts are easier in standard. So when you see this, the first thing I need for you to understand is this. If the A is positive, it's going to open down. If the A is negative, it's going to open which way?
Up or down.
Sorry, I said it backwards, right? If it's positive, it opens up. If it's negative, it opens down.
What's supposed to be in front of that?
This is a plus.
No, then what you circle, what is that?
This is an A.
Oh.
This is just an A. So if it opens up, is it a minimum or a maximum?
A maximum.
So which way is this graph opening?
Down.
This one opens which way? Up, right? And this is a
Minimum.
min. So if it opens up, it is a minimum. If it opens down, then it is a maximum point. It means your vertex is a max or your vertex is a min. Are we okay with that? Now, how do you find your axis of symmetry? Because it's going to be the first thing we're going to look for. So the axis of symmetry, which I'm going to be using AOS for, axis of symmetry, is just going to be x equals h. My vertex is going to be h comma k. That's how simple it's going to be right there. So what in the world do you mean, Ms. Peña? Sometimes I don't even know. They're going to give you a function in this format. And I have to find a whole bunch of things. So they're going to give you the function -2 parentheses x minus 3 squared plus 8. First thing that they're going to ask, what is the direction of the parabola? That means, does it open up or does it open down?
Down.
And the answer is down. Why?
Because it's negative A.
Because it's a -a. Your A is what? -2. So this one's going to open down. in case you need, because of the -2, which is your A, so you know what you're doing when you're looking at your notes, because sometimes you guys do your notes, but you don't even, when you look at them, you're like, I just wrote what she wrote. Questions on that one? No? Second part, if it opens down, is it a minimum or a max? It is a max. Very good. Part C, who is your AOS? Well, it says x equals h. Well, what's my h? And this is the only part where it's going to be tricky, your h. What do you
Oh.
see there?
It's a 3.
It's at a 3 or a -3?
-3.
You see a -3.
It's square.
Squares.
Okay, no. The square has nothing to do with it.
But there's already a minus.
Because there's already a minus. Where is the... Thank you.
Oh, so
Because
just
there's
the
already a
positive.
minus there. Then we only care about it, and it's just a... Why did I put an H? Sorry. It is just a 3. So keep this in mind. When you are looking for your vertex or your H, it's going to be the opposite of what you see in there. If you see a -3, it's a 3. If you see a +3, then it's a -3. So keep that in mind. So, when it's a plus inside, then it's going to be a negative number. I don't know. I'm messed up. Your D, who's your vertex? Well, the vertex says it's going to be HK. Well, who was your H?
3.
And who's your K?
8.
8, because this is your K. So, once again, the H comes from here, and this is your K. Questions?
Wait.
H is right there, K is right there. Are we okay with that? See or no? See? Okay. E part is going to be, can you find the x-intercepts? Now, what have we learned in the past? When you look for your x-intercept, who is 0? The y. So we know that y equals to 0, right? So when I have my point, it's going to be something 0. Do you agree?
Yes.
So the function they give you is y equals -2 x minus 3 squared plus 8. But you're telling me to replace my y with a who?
0.
0. So let's say this is a 0. What would be the first steps that I have to do to solve for x?
We'll use look at exponents.
Well, we could get rid of the exponent only when it's by itself. So who do we have to get rid of first?
It's negative.
-2.
The -2, but before the -2,
The negative. I mean 8.
the 8. We need to get rid of the 8 by subtracting 8 first. -8 equals -2 parentheses x minus 3 squared. Now who do you get rid of?
-2.
We do what to get rid of that one?
5.
Is it divider or plus?
Plus. What?
What's happening here?
That's multiplied.
So then it's a division. It is a division. No, it's because I heard some people say plus, so we need to explain why it's a division, not a plus. -8 divided by -2 is 4 equals to x minus 3 squared. And then this becomes like one of those problems similar to what we had to do on the test. We need to take the square root, take the square root. Was it just the square root of 4?
2.
2.
Now, remember, when we did these problems, we had to put a plus or minus. Do you remember having to do that?
Yeah.
Last time we did something like this. And then what is the last thing you have to do to solve for x? Plus 3. Now, where do we put the 3, in the front or after the 2?
In front. Because of
It has to be in front.
Oh. Plus minus.
So it has to be 3 plus minus 2 equals to x. Do you remember doing something like this before?
Yes.
So then this tells me x is 3 plus 2, which is 5. But x could also be 3 minus 2, which is 1. So my two zeros are 5, 0 and 1 comma 0, or remember they used to give them to us in little brackets. So it just depends on how they give it to you right there. So do you remember doing something like this?
Yes.
Yes? So it's a lot of little things that we're doing just for one problem. Now, after the x-intercepts, I want to find the y-intercept, yes. So I'm moving this up. That is F. What is the y-intercept? Well, when I do the y-intercept, who has to be 0? X has to be 0, right? So y equals negative 2x, what was it? Minus 3 squared plus 8. But because I'm doing this part, my x gets replaced with a 0. So this becomes negative 2, negative 3 squared plus 8. Does everybody understand where that negative 3 comes from? 0 minus 3. So what do I do here first? Do I multiply 2 times negative 3 or do I square negative 3? You don't have to, because it's already y equals. We don't have to subtract, so we're just evaluating. So do I multiply 2 and 3 or do I square 3? Square 3. What is 3 squared? 9. Positive, right? Now, what's negative 2 times 9? Negative 18 plus 8? Negative 10. So when I think about this point, it's going to be 0, negative 10. Last thing we have to do is find the domain and find the range. Now, we have talked about parabolas before. What is the domain of any parabola?
Negative infinity, positive infinity.
Yes, negative infinity to infinity. And then here goes the next thing. When I graphed this, you told me it was going to open which way? Down. And we know the vertex is where do we say? 3, 8. So let's just say 1, 2, 3, and this is 8. Let's say this is 3, 8. The graph is going to look something like this, right? What is my range going to be? What is the highest it goes?
8.
8, right? Now, where do we get the 8 from? The y value in your vertex. Now, is it going to be everything to positive infinity or negative infinity? So this goes from negative infinity up to 8 with a bracket. The only thing that's going to be different from answer to answer when it comes to domain and range is going to be your range. And it's going to have to do with the y in your vertex. The only thing that you're going to have to be careful is it going to be the y to positive infinity or the negative infinity to the y value? So it would be good that you kind of do a little sketch so you could kind of see what's going on. So A through G, does it look like a lot of work? Yes? Great. I'm glad. Because now you have to do one on your own.
Yay.
Yeah, I know. You guys are so excited. So do this one. And you're doing all parts to it. So y equals 3 parentheses x plus 2 squared minus 12. So go back to A. What was A? Which way does it open? So you don't even have to write down the question. Just put it down. What was B? Is it a max or a min? Put it there. Zachary, you need to take off your earphone. So, does it open up or down? A through G for each one. So does it open up or down? Don't tell me, put it there. Is that going to be a min or max? What is your axis of symmetry? And what is your vertex? Those are the first 4 things. So I'm going to give you about 2 minutes to do them, and then I'm going to start writing in the answers. If you have questions, let me know. So I've already answered the first two. It should be up and min, right? Very good. Has everybody already found the axis symmetry and the vertex? Remember, axis symmetry is just your H, which is
-2.
a -2, right? Remember, if you see a plus, it's actually a minus, so it's a -2. So x equals -2, and that makes my vertex A -2, comma, -12. Perfect. So we did that part. Now to find the x-intercepts, we need to let who be 0? Y. Is everybody working on that one?
Yes.
Okay. We can move this up. If you keep your notes out while doing your assignment, I can assure you, you're going to be excelente. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have done the work for the x-intercept. Look at your work. Is it the same, or do you need me to go and clarify something? Yes.
Just that when I was looking at x-intercept, when you minus the 2 on both sides, it wouldn't be like 2 minus a -2.
2 minus, remember, you need to keep the plus and minus in the middle. Like, I understand you want to put 2 minus -2, but remember, this could be a positive or this could be a negative, but it should be up in the front. So that's why, this should have been a negative.
Wait,
Okay.
there. Wait, it's
Okay, I messed up.
It's -4, right?
Yeah. Hold on. Yes, you're right. My bad. So, right there. So this should be -2 minus 2, which is a -4. Yeah? All right, mate. I was watching this movie and they call each other. Okay, mate. All right. Thank you, Louis. Hi, Louis. You have me on my toes. Keep me on my toes. All right. Are we okay with why is it -4, -2, -2? Two negative numbers. Because remember, it could be a plus. When you do the square root, it could be a plus or minus. And then the 2 being subtracted, it's -2 minus 2 is a -4. And it so happens that what is your y-intercept? 0, 0, right? And when you thought about this graph, you said it opened which way? Up. And where was my vertex?
-2, -12.
So -2, -12. We could just, and you don't have to go and be exact, but just know where it's at. And you're telling me it opens this way, right? So the only reason I do this sketch is to help me understand the domain and range. So when we think about domain, what is it?
Infinity
To positive infinity. But your range is going to go from where to where?
-12 to positive infinity.
-12 to positive infinity. Because it starts at -12 and it's going everywhere above. Make sure you have a bracket on the number because it includes the -12. There is a point at -12. So how do you feel about the vertex form? Question, yes ma'am.
How do you know, why'd you put the 12 in front of this?
Because this is the thing. Remember when we do this, you always put your smaller number first. So if you look at the previous problem, it went from a -infinity to 8. So when it opens up, you need, what's your smallest number? The -12. So that's why that goes first. When it opens down, what is your smallest number? My -infinity. So that goes first. It just depends, like what's bigger, what's smaller. The -12 is smaller than infinity, but then here the -infinity is bigger than the 8. What happened, Louis?
It's a guess.
You guess, right? Whatever. Questions on it? Any questions on the x-intercepts, on the y-intercepts? Any of that? No? All right. So you ready for example 2, the last one for me, and then you'll have to do your own?
Yes.
Now they're going to give it to you in standard form. When they give it to you in standard form, there is no what? What do you notice? What's different from this one and the other one? There's parentheses, and the other one had HK. Here, there's no parentheses. Now, the same thing happens. This number, if it's positive, it opens which way? Up. If it's negative, it opens down. So if it opens up, it is a min. If it opens down, it is a max. To find the axis of symmetry, it's going to involve more work than just looking at a number now. It's going to be x equals -b divided by 2a.
This is what I remember.
You remember this one? When you find your vertex, it is obviously going to be -b over 2a, comma, something. We're going to have to plug in whatever we get for x into the equation to figure out what y is. But the good thing about this one, when you look for the y-intercept, just throwing it out here already, it's going to be 0, comma, c. So whatever this number is, that is going to be your y-intercept. You don't have to do any calculations the way we did here. That one's already a given. Right there. Now, on your test, I mean, not on your test, on your assignment, maybe there's 1 or 2 questions in standard form. That's it. When you look for your x-intercepts, you're going to have to do a quadratic formula. You remember us talking about that? You're like, yes, even though I don't want to. So I'm going to give you the function for today. Let's say it's this. So when I look at this, is it open up or down? Down. So down means that it's going to be a min or a max? Max is correct. Yes, thank you. My axis of symmetry, we said we have to use the formula negative b over 2a. And before I do that, let's look at this. Who's your a?
-2.
Who's your b?
-6.
And who's your c?
1.
1. It would be good for you to identify those beforehand. It would be good for you to identify those beforehand. So when I come to look for my axis of symmetry, it's going to be negative b, which you said b was a what? -6, over 2 times a, which we said was a -2. So this becomes a +6 over a -4, which reduces to a -3 over 2, or we could even say it's a -1.5. I don't know if you want to keep it as a fraction or a decimal, depending on what your answers look like, but I need for you to know those are the same. Now, this was your AOS. Do you agree? Now, it gets messy when you have a fraction. I don't know if your assignment's going to have a fraction or not. I think the last one might. So, in order for me to find my vertex, I know it's going to be -3 over 2, but I have no idea what my y is until I plug this into the equation.
Oh.
Yes. So y equals -2, -3 over 2 squared, -6, -3 over 2, plus 1. So it gets a little crazy, but there's no race. You do this slowly. What is -3 over 2 squared? What's -3 times a -3? 9. What's 2 times 2? 4, right? So this is going to become -2, 9 over 4. This is a negative times a negative, so it becomes a what? Positive. 6 times 3? 18 over 2 plus 1. Are we okay with that? So yes, it's fractions, but it's not like, ugh. Now here I can multiply the top with the top. What's -2 times 9? 18 over 4 plus 18 over 2 plus 1. Now, in order for me to be able to combine these, I have to have the same what? Denominator. Now, I know we might think, hey, let's change this to a 4, but can I reduce this
You change to an
to a -9 over 2 plus 18 over 2 plus 2 over 2. Now, you'll have calculators when it comes to these fractions, so you can use them then. But right now, I'm making you use your heads. What's -9 plus 18?
9.
9 plus 2?
11 over 2.
11 over 2. So there is my answer. Because of the 1? I needed a denominator of 2.
Oh,
So
okay,
2 divided by 2 becomes 1. So everything had to become a fraction. Any other questions? Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. Now, in case you had to graph it by hand, decimals are better, 1.5, and this is a 5.5. I don't know which way you'll see it, but there's those two options. Yes, ma'am. Monday. The x-intercepts is even crazier. I
Yay.
know, right? All right. Questions? So to do x-intercepts, we're going to have to do x equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Remember that formula?
The quadratic formula?
Yeah.
My favorite.
Your favorite ever?
Mm-hmm.
Yay. You liar.
I memorized it.
Oh, that's good. So we already said who your ABC are on top. You could probably see them. I probably have to scroll down or just remember what they are. But who was B? Negative 6. So this is a negative 6 plus minus negative 6 squared minus 4 times A, which was A, negative 2, and C, which is a 1, all over 2 times negative 2. Are we okay right there? We've done it before, so it's not like, oh my God. Oh, it is because of the work. A negative and the negative 6 becomes a positive 6. 6 squared is 36. negative 4 times a negative 2 times 1 is a positive 8 over a negative 4. What is 36 plus 8? 44? 44. So this becomes the square root of 44 over a negative 4. Now, when you see the number 44, can you think of a square root that I could use? What times what gives me 44? 4 and 11. So this becomes 6 plus or minus square root of 4 times the square root of 11. But what can we do with that square root of 4? 2 square root of 11 divided by a negative 4. Now, keep in mind that negative 4 is for both the 6 and the 2. If it helps for you to split them up, do it. I don't know. It just depends how you feel. But 6 over 4 reduces to negative 3 over 2 plus minus. How about 2 over negative square root of 11 over 2? Or we could just write it as one fraction. They won't put that negative in there, or they'll just put the 2 in the bottom. Keep that a positive. They'll do that probably. Question? Because you said wait. You got it? So I split them up, reduced them, but then wrote it down as 1. Your answer is going to look like this, and it's going to stay like that. Now remember, this is a what intercept? We use the quadratic formula to find the x-intercept. So your answer is going to look like this. Because remember, what is the y value when you look for the x-intercept? 0. Now the next part. What happened? I know, right? F is your y-intercept. That one's easy. It is 0c. So what's my c value?
1.
So your F, your y-intercept in standard form, it's papitas. There it is.
This makes it so overly complicated.
It's 0, c. And the last thing you have to look for is your who?
Domain and range.
Domain and range. So domain obviously is to infinity. My range, well, I need to kind of imagine what we're talking about. Where was the crazy vertex? Like in 10 pages away? No, I'm just kidding. Negative 1.5 and a positive 5.5, which is up here. So which way does it open? What did it say, up or down?
I can't remember.
Me neither. Oh, it's down. So my vertex, my range is going to be negative infinity to 5.5. Negative infinity to 5.5.
Let's hope we don't have
So
any
if you're gonna be
fractions.
opening down, you have to start with the negative infinity,
Yes.
this up, then it's the positive.
Yes. Ice.
Oh my gosh, let me see, we did it.
Are we good?
And now we're gonna do it all by ourselves.
Yes.
No, man.
Say yay.
Come on, man. Don't do like that, man.
It's easy.
We know how to do it already.
Well,
Just give us
this
the assignment.
this one, your vertex is going to be a whole number.
Okay.
Okay. I know. Aren't I the sweetest?
You know, stage
See, I don't know why I didn't
think of that. And if you're an actor and open stage,
All right. Let's get
So
started with that one.
What time is class start?
What did I just hear?
I used to think we should all of it.
Same. You know,
I'm just gonna have to flip in pages.
Why are these between us?
All right. Open up or down, min and max.
And minimum.
Okay, up and min. Yay, we got the first two.
Thank you.
Negative b over 2a. It's going to be a whole number. Like in this one, the one that has the most work is going to be your x-intercept.
Yay.
I'm going to start doing the work in a little bit. So when you read the questions on the assignment, you need to be able to like figure out, oh, they're just looking for this. So remember, when you do your 10 problem assignment, you don't have to find all of them. All these 6, how many things is there? A, B, C, I don't even know how to count. 7 things for each one. They're just gonna ask, hey, go find the axis symmetry. So you just have to do that part. Or go match the graph. We'll figure out, does it open up or down and what's your vertex? And that's all you really need. Monday.
Do we get to choose which kind of form we want?
It depends on the equation. If they give it to you like this, then you have to do the standard form steps. The vertex is what? Negative b over 2a, and then you have to figure out the other one. So we know this is going to be 2 comma something, but where do you have to plug in this? Remember? But you see, this one's not going to be as nasty because it's whole numbers. What is 2 squared? 4 times 2 minus 16 minus 4. What is that?
Negative 20.
So it's 8 minus 20, negative 12.
Oh, did you put the 2 from the axis symmetry?
Yes. And I'll go back and point that out because your axis of symmetry is always going to be your x value for your vertex. Your axis of symmetry is always going to be the x value. So you see, A, B, C, D, we got through it faster than the other one. And now you do have to use same.
Bless you. Oh.
Do I get a 96 inside?
Yeah.
Yeah? Now, what numbers give you 96?
Excuse me,
Yes.
is Joe Adams there?
Yes.
Can you please send it to Mrs. Daniels' office?
Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Daniels. She's a principal of student activities. She's probably wondering. Yeah, I just played.
Student activity.
Like she's in. If he was supposed to be over there at the pack, she's probably gonna get after him. Like, hello, you're supposed to go. All right, questions right there. So, 64 plus 32 is 96. 96 comes from multiplying the square root of 16 and 6. Remember, when there's a square root, you need to pick a number that you can take the square root of. On your test, some of you had the square root of 75, and y'all picked 15 and 5. Can you take the square root of 15?
No.
Can you take the square root of 5? Obviously, those were not numbers you were supposed to use. It was supposed to be 25 and 25 and 3.
Quarters?
Sorry.
Hello, quarters. And then this becomes 2 plus or minus square root of 6, comma 0.
Wait, is it not over 4?
It reduces because this becomes 2 and then this cancels.
6.
That cancels.
The square root of 6 isn't over.
No. And then the easiest one, your y intercept, what is it? Something C, 0, -4.
Wait, why isn't the square root of 6 over?
Because this is being multiplied. So it's the whole thing over 4, the 4 is reduced. That's it. Your domain, negative, and your range,
Is that -4, Max?
yes.
Is that -12 and infinity?
I don't know, 'cause what was the thing? 2 -12? 2 -12 is here, it opens up, so it goes from 12 to infinity, yes. And this is a bracket. All right, crazy?
Yeah.
Just something, one more little thing I'm gonna throw out there. Oh, breathe. If you were to get a problem like this, is that in standard or vertex form?
Standard.
Standard. Who's your A?
X?
1.
1. Who's your B?
0.
There's no B, so it's 0. And who's your C?
6.
-16. So please, when there is a problem like this on your assignment, it is 1, 0, and -6. So find a partner. Once you have a friend, come to me. I am going to give you an equation. You and your partner are supposed to solve it. So if it's in standard form, you solve it in standard. If it's in vertex, in vertex. After you find it, you go over to the axis of symmetry pawn on my desk. You find your axis of symmetry, but you can't do it yet until you have your equation. After that, once you find your axis of symmetry, you come and find your vertex. And after you find your axis of symmetry and your vertex, there's 12 graphs around the room. You go and find your graph. Once you have all things found, then you go ahead and come here. Let me know so I can go check if you got it right.